Senator, this is really exciting. Tell us about the solar energy package.
Well, we announced this package in Austin today, and if there's a community that will benefit from this and that is perfectly positioned to be the solar capital of the future, it's El Paso. We're not called the Sun City for nothing. And so the question is, how do we transform energy usage from what has been oil and gas to renewables? We've had a reliance in this country for 100 years on oil and gas. We're now writing $1 trillion check every year to Middle Eastern countries, many of whom don't like us very much. That's American money that goes overseas. So what would happen if we kept that money here and we developed a really transformative energy source that lowered costs but kept El Paso and America running? Well, you're in the middle of it. This is the cap limit. It's El Paso, Texas. And there's two sources of energy, solar and geothermal, which we are very, very lucky to be right in the middle of. But really, our future rests on solar. So the question is, how do we get going on this? How do we transform our community? How do students get involved? How does UTEP take that lead? And what's the package of bills at the state level that will make the difference?
What is going to be the regional economic impact from this solar package to El Paso?
Well, in the past, if you looked at El Paso Electric was a transportation company when it first started. Light rail here was run by the electric company. What we'll see in the future, if we do this right, is that El Paso will be the center of electrical generation through solar. And that the day's coming soon, we're going to plug in your car and run it off electricity. And the question is, where's that electricity coming from? And in El Paso, it's going to be solar. And so we could be the leader in solar generation. Our electric company needs to take that lead. And we need to participate in a broad set of strategies that will get us there. Imagine a day where you have a solar generation factory real close to here. You're shooting solar up to a generator of a thermal tower, and you're producing enough electricity for El Paso and Juarez, and you can sell it to California. That's money from California that's coming into here to help us with our electric company. So this is really exciting. I mean, it's an exciting prospect. It's something we need to start working on. We need to make it a center of community activities, conferences, the kind of things that get things launched. But this package of bills is the foundation of solar for El Paso.
And how is this package going to help the homeowner and consumers in the future?
Well, imagine a day that you're at UTEP. And imagine that every rooftop at UTEP has solar generators on it, photovoltaic, these panels that are getting better and better. And imagine that UTEP is producing enough electricity to lower their electric costs to zero and to help fund your tuition. Now, that's a big deal. Imagine that they get to sell their excess back to the electric company and use that to apply to books, so your books are not so expensive. That's just one idea. Now imagine that your home, you've got the same solar generators on your home, and your electric bill is going to zero. And you have the right and the ability to sell it back to the electric company that's using it to power Fort Bliss, or using it to power some new manufacturing of solar panels. So all of a sudden you can see the dynamic of this and why it's so important to our future. And when we hear about talk in Washington about solar, we're right in the middle of it. And you go to Washington, D.C., they don't have nearly as many days of the solar capacity for energy that we do. So this is something we need to get our arms around and start pushing more and more in El Paso.
Do you think that changing to solar energy is going to have any cost to homeowners or anything like that? Or they're going to benefit more from it?
Well, we just laid out a bill in Austin. It's real interesting. So the school districts now are going to be required to use certain standards around solar power and water also. So the initial upfront cost is 2% more. So if it's $100,000 to build this school classroom, let's assume, now it's $102,000. But what about the lifetime of the building? The lifetime of that structure. The initial cost is up 2%, but the lifetime cost of building, designing, operating, and maintaining is 20% lower. So the economics is in the favor of doing this. In fact, people will soon see we need to do this. So there'll be a little upfront cost in improving and putting on these solar panels. You have to do that now if you wanted a solar I mean, a water heater that's run by electricity, right? Well, what if you just did a water heater run by solar? So there's going to be some cost at the upfront, but the government is going to step in and help you with tax credits. They're going to help you with loans at very low cost rate, so that when you look at the economics of it, wait a minute, I put $2,000 in here, but I'm going to save $500 a year or more on my electricity. Sooner or later, people are going to see the long term, it's better to put it on and save money over time.
And I know when I was at UTEP, one of the major projects that the engineering students would do is they would enter in a solar energy car competition. So how are these students who have been studying this going to benefit, and do you think that there'll be potential jobs for these engineering students in El Paso from these bills?
You bet. I mean, the potential is enormous, because these solar cars, the impediment has been the battery. I can take solar, I can generate electricity that moment, but at night, what do? Turn off the car, don't drive. So the issue has been what about the battery? But right now, there's talk of having gas stations turn into electricity stations. So you go in, you change the battery at the gas station, you put in a new battery and go, and that old gas station is now a battery station. There's talk about freeways. You get into a certain lane, and in a groove, you're regenerating the solar power for your car. So there was a car parked in front of the Capitol last week that we all looked at, walked around and looked under the hood at, where you go for a month on one battery. And now the question is, what are you going to do about that battery? And it runs totally on solar. And so those issues are being resolved now. But imagine if we get at the front end of this instead of the back end. In Austin, the electric company, Austin Energy, is taking that lead. Can you imagine what would happen if our electric company took that lead? That's really what we have to push to make happen.
Well, to me, it seems like a perfect partnership for the Sun City to take on the leadership in the solar energy package. Is there anything else you'd like to tell us about this?
Well, we've got 6 or 8 bills filed in Austin right now. So one will let you lease your rooftop back to the electric company so you can make money on your own rooftop. Another will let you lease your energy back. So if you put solar panels on your roof, you got extra energy, you get credit for that against your electric bill. And any excess you can send back to the electric company. Another one will have schools invest in these so that to the taxpayer, the cost of running the school will be less over time. Another bill makes the state the leader in solar by setting the bar high on renewable production standards, that we have to get there in order for Texas to take the lead on this. And another one will take your sales tax off of whatever you buy that relates to solar. So if you go to a store, for example, and buy solar stuff, your bill's going to be lower in terms of your bill. So there's a package of these bills that's trying to create a market for solar, incentivize both consumers and electric companies to get there, and push this along faster than it would otherwise happen. But hold on to your helmets. El Paso is the Sun City, and El Paso is going to be the solar capital, because it just makes sense.
Well, thank you very much for sharing that information with us.
Well, I just wanted folks to understand what's happening. This solar package is a big, big deal, and I'm hopeful that we can have more conversations about this as the session goes on, but really start taking the lead on this and make El Paso move forward into the 21st century.
Thank you.
Thank you.